So Gelie, thanks for taking time out to do the Art of Fearlessly Doing Business interview. I really appreciate you being part of the project.
Yeah, I'm excited to finally be a part of it.
Yay, and we tried to do this last year and you were busy and I was busy and timing was off, but I'm so grateful that the timing's on this time. Yep. Tell everybody who you are and a little bit about your business.
Well, my name is Gelie Akhenblit. I typically just go by Gelie. It's like Kelly with a G. And so a little bit about me, I'm an entrepreneur. I started this entrepreneurial journey about 9-10 years ago. Didn't realize I was an entrepreneur before I actually kind of launched this company. And I wasn't even launching a company, I was following a hunch and a hobby that turned into a business idea. So as of today, I've got a company called networkingphoenix.com. It's an online platform for local professionals that are looking to network and connect with other professionals. And so fast forward 9 years, we've got almost 40,000 members. It's one of the most popular websites here locally, and it gets a lot of traffic, even from just non-local places. You know, basically it's just a platform that's like a living, breathing platform. I have events monthly, and we also do these big events twice a year. We get about 1,300 people attending. Michelle, you and I met.
It was just an amazing thing, yeah. It's a phenomenon.
Thank you, yeah, and it was, you know, I think at the event that you're mentioning where we met, we probably had close to 2,000 people, because when the economy wasn't so bad, wasn't so good, we had all the job seekers there. So I've got my hands involved in a lot of different things. Gelie.com is more of a website that actually talks about what I get engaged in on a personal level. So I work with people one-on-one. I get involved in fun projects. I do a lot of presentations. So basically my life is never boring. I feel like I'm a true entrepreneur, and most of my time is spent with other business owners and helping other entrepreneurs, so it's extremely fulfilling.
You get to do a lot of public speaking too. You just did a TED Talk.
I did do a TEDx Talk. Yes, yeah. TEDx Talk, yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was definitely something on my to-do list of things I wanted to accomplish, and I was asked to participate. It was very exciting, and I didn't speak on networking. I spoke on my own personal journey, which is honestly even more exciting to talk about than just networking, right? Which is what a lot of people pull me in for. So I got to speak about my own journey. It was titled Journey to Freedom, Sink, Swim, or Fly. And I talk about just how my family brought me here from the former Soviet Union, which is where I was born, and they had to give up everything. And they wanted to come to the United States for a better life. You know, Soviet Union was anti-Semitic, we're Jewish. And I mean, there's a lot more to it, but basically that's how we ended up here. And so I talk about how my family kicked me off on this journey and how it's really been this constant in my life. So when I went to school, I went to college, I thought I was going to have a career in communications. 2 years into that, I realized that really isn't my path in life. So I continued on my journey, and I quit my job. Very unexpectedly. The words literally fell out of my mouth. Like, again, and I talk about this in the TED Talk. And I quit, and I launched Networking Phoenix. And here we are 9 years later, you know, but then again, it's just a constant theme throughout my life. If I'm involved in something that is no longer serving me, no matter how painful it is, or how many societal notions have been put into my head that this is what I need to be doing, somehow I find a way to break free and just keep living my life. So that's what I talk about in my TED Talk.
I think that's one of the reasons why we're such great friends, because we share that quality in common. We just can't force ourselves to stay in something that's no longer serving us.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a good segue into the next question. You've told us a little bit about why you started your business, but tell us a little bit more about why you started it.
So I started the company by accident, like all good things, you know, accidents, I don't know. I don't actually know if that's true, but what happened was I really didn't like my job. It was my second job out of college, and I was out networking to kind of discover other opportunities. And even networking, I kind of stumbled upon it by accident. I was invited to an event, and I was like, what is this? This is networking. You get to walk around and meet people. Loved it. So I kept networking. I kept attending events to just meet with people and just have conversations. I don't know, like for some reason I really enjoyed that. I would get endorphins. I would walk into a room full of strangers and literally feel like I'm falling in love. right? So, I mean, and I don't, I've never been addicted to drugs or anything, but like, people say, oh, you need that next high. So like, that was my high, like, and I'm not even kidding, because I know that the dopamine was pumping. It was off the charts because I couldn't stop smiling. I had extreme energy highs from attending networking events, and I was addicted. I was addicted to networking events. So I would literally come home from work and go to networking events. And then I started working from home, and then I would go to networking events for, either early in the morning or at lunch. But my point is like this, I was living and breathing networking. And I came home one evening after an event, and at the time I was married to a software engineer. And I said to him, I said, hey, could you build me a website that has a calendar on it, because I want to put all the networking events in one calendar. And I bet I have enough networking friends that would visit it monthly, maybe even 100. Maybe I could put up some ads on there, and they could be kind of like my side thing, And the guy I was married to, he happens to be brilliant when it comes to writing code, being a software engineer, and just the way his mind works. He kind of he took my concept and made it more and better. So, and he was my business partner. So we launched this business together, and he created this amazing platform that we now know as networkingphoenix.com. We launched it on January 1st, 2008, when the economy completely crashed, if anyone watching remembers this, and everybody landed on the website. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was like I was at the perfect place at the perfect time. I had no idea the perfect storm was about to occur. But I tell people the story because, Michelle, you were asking me, why did I launch the business? And I don't know. It was almost like I was divinely guided to do it. Like, there were a few things that happened. One, I hated my job enough to, like legitimate hate, meaning I would get there in the mornings and want to like throw up. Like, it was very, very bad. It wasn't like, oh, I just liked it. But then I also, what I learned about that, this was my second job out of college, and I realized I don't think I'm meant to have a job. Like, this is where I discovered that I'm more of an entrepreneur. And if we look at my entire life history since I was a kid, it is so clear that I'm an entrepreneur, but I had no idea. I just didn't know. And and if you ask me what it means to be an entrepreneur, I would tell you it's a complete personality style. It is a complete personality style. Yeah. So when you take somebody like me with my personality and you try to put me on a schedule where I have to be somewhere Monday through Friday, certain hours, and I don't get to go outside when the weather is nice, or like it did not jive with me at all. And I don't mean this in a I'm spoiled kind of way, because believe me, I work very hard. But I couldn't do it. So that's why I was networking. That's why I was doing different things. And honestly, it was just a discovery process of who I am. And this is how it all shaped out to be. So to wrap it up, because I could talk forever, but but to wrap it up, I think it was important for me to put myself into the path of opportunity and really follow my heart. Again, and this is where that theme of journey to freedom, as I talked about in my TED Talk, it just keeps coming through. Is if something wasn't working for me, if I wasn't waking up every morning and happy with a smile on my face, that wasn't the life I wanted to live. And so I kept digging and searching and looking until I discovered something that, like I mentioned, like that adrenaline and that the endorphins that were pumping through me when I would go to networking events. This is what I needed to do. I didn't know how I was going to create a business around it. Never took a single business class in my life. Literally had no idea. All I knew was I found something that just almost broke me free of whatever I thought my life needed to be, and I needed to follow it. So almost very serendipitous.
Before the interview, we were talking about some things that, because I asked everyone the same 5 questions, there's some synergy across the now 35 interviews I've done over the past 3 projects of Art Fearlessly Doing Business projects. And one of the biggest things that you all have in common, and I share this as well, is the idea of working for someone else or punching a clock is more excruciating than any kind of insecurity or risk that could be involved with having your own business. Right. So that was one thing. And I think the other thing that you said that just makes me smile, if people could see the other side of the camera, I purposely make these videos about the person and don't put myself in them, is that you and I are turbo networkers. We're chronic networkers. We can't help but go into a room, meet people, and ask how I can help you. And then we have long-term relationships. And you and I actually met at a Networking Phoenix event. I came here to Scottsdale on June 10th.
Okay.
And I started working for GoDaddy.
Okay.
And when I made the decision to leave GoDaddy because I had just sold a business back east, I heard about networkingphoenix.com. And really, I was at one of those people that met you because of the job search thing.
Right.
I was at that point looking for a JOB job.
Right.
And so we met because of that. And it's interesting. I've watched the whole, I pretty much met you about the same time that you were starting to realize, wow, I just stumbled in something very cool. And so it's really kind of neat because we've known each other for almost 8 years now.
Yeah, 8
and
years.
We've watched each other go through several different renditions of ourselves and the growth of our businesses and personally gone through some stuff. So it's kind of cool to remember where it was that we met from the perspective of the why. So thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what was the first fear you had to overcome? I mean, it sounds like you've got something in common with Najla Kayam. Najla is just, there was no fear. You just did it. Is that true? Was there a fear at all of getting started? You had no choice?
There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of fear. And I'll tell you what the fear was. I was 27 and, my family, as I mentioned, my background were Russian Jewish, and they were all about like math and science and, and then when I guess quitting, when I wanted to quit, it wasn't me quitting a job, it was me quitting an entire career to do something, to go network.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't like,
right.
I didn't even have anything
Have you lost your mind?
Yeah, so I think, and everybody was extremely supportive of me, but it was my own insecurity and my own fear. And let me tell you something, I'm not a quitter. Like, I am not a quitter, and I've had to learn how to quit things that don't serve me anymore, but that's how much I'm committed to not being a quitter. And I can probably tell you the first few times I quit something in my life, we don't need to have this conversation, but because it was such a rush to myself, like such a thing that my mind was like, what are you doing? You're quitting. And I actually remember, like, the first few things I quit.
Yeah.
Because I don't quit anything. So, for me to quit my job, my career, everything I went to school for, my identity at the moment was no small thing.
Yeah.
I was very, very scared. I had real fears, financial fears, because my salary was significant enough to that. So I was married at the time. So my salary was significant enough that if we lost my salary, well, could we afford mortgage and all the other bills that we needed to pay? And I'll tell you, I kept postponing my quit date, and I remember talking to, again, my husband at the time, who was very supportive, and he said to me, I said to him, what happens if I quit and we lose the house? Like, we're gonna, what if we lose the house? And he looked at me and he said, so we'll go live with your mom. And I was like, wow, okay, well, if you're the one proposing that, it just really, it really mattered to have somebody to put me at ease from that perspective. But still, even then, Michelle, I couldn't do it.
Oh, I've been there. I get it.
So there was a lot of fear. So
it's grocery money.
Yeah,
you didn't have like some giant nest egg sitting there. It was like literally like, am I going to make the bills next month?
Right, exactly. Yeah, like it was very significant. So what happened was in December of 2007, my manager pulled me into the office, and she said something along the lines of, Gelie, we need you here for more hours, da 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 da, blah blah blah. I don't even know all I heard was more hours in this toxic waste. Like, that's what I call it. I call it a toxic wasteland. And I walked into the building, it was like, that probably wasn't pretty on camera. But that's just how it felt. And I was like, more hours in this toxic wasteland. Like, I felt like my soul was dying. Like, literally, I felt like my soul was dying. And I opened up my mouth. I don't have no idea what I was going to say. And I said, I quit. I put my 3 weeks in. And she looked at me, and I looked at her, and it was like literally like a moment. And she's like, Gelie, are you serious? Because we don't, you can take that back if you didn't mean that. Like, we don't have to tell anyone. Or she said something like that, And I'm thinking, I'm like, no. I'm like, if I said it, I mean it.
Yeah.
Because I was
like,
not,
I'm done.
I was not planning on quitting that day. I was not planning on having that conversation. None of this was planned. But clearly, I was just like, it's like, that was my edge.
Yeah.
That was, we need you here for more hours. Done. I was like, no, I can't do it. So I quit. And the first thing I did was I ran to my cubicle. I used to work in a cubicle, you know. I ran to my cubicle and I called my husband at the time, who's now my ex-husband, and I told him, and he said, I'm so proud of you. I was like, really? I was like, wow, okay, again. So, I mean, it was great to have that support, and not a lot of people have that. I was very fortunate to have him being so supportive. But, you know, so for me to have that moment, have his validation was amazing. And then I emailed one of my friends right away. Her and I are very, like, spiritually connected, so I felt like I had to tell her. And I said, Karen, I just quit, you know, sink or swim. And she replied back immediately, and she said, Gelie, you're so silly, you're going to fly.
Oh,
and that's where the name of my TED Talk came from. She's like, you're going to fly. What do you mean, what is the sink or swim? No. And she was right, you know. Here I am, like, I feel like I've been high and flying.
That's another thing we've got in common. I've got a best friend at home, actually, who edits all of my blogs. She was the English major in college, and I was the art major, right. And she's my fly girl.
Yeah.
And, you know, we all have to have at least one of those in our lives. Actually, an entourage of them if you're lucky, right?
That's true, absolutely.
It's really important to have somebody when you're making those decisions that, you know, people think that if you start your own business that poof, it just happened and you didn't have any of the fears. And if you only knew what I have to leave and deal with, but no, you know, I'm not sure if I can get groceries or pay my mortgage this month is a real fear.
Very real.
So it really is sink, swim, or fly.
Right. And there was a lot of fear. So there really was, because like I said, it really wasn't just me quitting. It was mentally, honestly, mentally was the biggest block. Oh, and then, you know, the other thing I told myself, the other stupid story I told myself is, and this is where we like tell ourselves lies to keep ourselves in a box. I said, I can't quit my job because they paid for some of my, I was getting a master's degree.
Yeah.
And like, they paid for some of it and I'm going to have to pay it back. And that's just too much money to spend, to pay back. Again, so let me tell you what happened. Okay, so I was living by the story. I can't quit. So I quit, and of course so I had to pay back some of it. I don't remember how much it was, but there was like maybe like 50% I still owed if I quit. And it went to a collections agency. And I feel like I owed over $2,000, like maybe $2,300 or so. I feel like that's how much I owed. And I remember the guy from collections agency called me and my heart was beating. I've never gotten a call from a collections agency before. Okay, you're talking to like back then I was so responsible. I'm not so much anymore, okay? But back then I'm so responsible. And I'm like literally sweating talking to this guy. And he says to me, if you can pay it off today, it'll just be $800. And I was like, what? I'm like, let me get the credit card. So I paid off that bill. I know it was over $2,000. Only $800 if I paid it all at once. It's unbelievable. And like, so to think that $800 is what was keeping me at a job that my soul was like literally withering at is just, it's unfathomable.
And that's a huge first lesson as an entrepreneur to have, is that, you know, I think when we have those fears that keep us stuck in the cubicle, and I'm sure there's people listening right now that totally are stuck in their cubicle and maybe watching this on company time and banging their head in their desk, right? We put these blocks up, but then once we make the decision, once the bottom falls out, we get fired, something happens, you know, the roof gets ripped off the economy, then we deal with it. You know, it's not a pleasant experience. Nobody wants to go through that, but there's somehow some solution that gets you from point A to point B.
Yeah.
That's been my experience.
Yeah.
You don't know that until you take the leap.
You really don't. Yeah. And you know, but here's the thing, Michelle, even me knowing that, there's been so many times in my life, even recently,
you forget.
You forget and you hold back and you keep making the wrong decision, thinking it's the right decision. And you know, again, it's almost like with me, I have to get pushed to that. I wish I didn't have to get pushed to that edge to sometimes make the right decision, but I still do. So, you know, I don't want to say, oh, I'm so high and mighty, I had this experience, and now I have all the answers. You know, now I've got it all.
Yeah.
But, you know, the most recent in my life, and I speak about my divorce publicly, you know, so I'll mention this, but I was almost afraid, like towards the end, it's like I was afraid to leave because I was like, well, I don't know if I can afford to live on my own. I mean, again, like, to go from being married to then being a single mom with being an entrepreneur, again, like these are very legitimate fears. Like these are not things to that are, you know,
whatever. Yeah.
No,
still got a kid to feed. No big deal, right?
Exactly, no big deal. So the fears are real, you know. But here's the thing, you know, it's not that I've discovered that it's not that you should be fearless. Well, at least for me, I think fear is good because fear makes us think and process. But I think it's having the fear, acknowledging it, but then still being able to push through it, to be able to make decisions, the best decisions you can make at the time. And, and just push. So I look at fear a little bit differently now. Back then fear kind of ruled my life. As I said, the story, I was afraid, and so I didn't do it until I was forced to do it. Now, the same thing. It's almost like I'm still afraid to do a lot of things, but what I'm most afraid of is having to get a job.
This is across across the board. Every single one of you has said that the fear of having to work for somebody else is much worse than what I have to walk through every day.
100%. Yeah. 100%. One of my core goals in life is to never have to put together a resume. Ever again. Right? Like legitimately.
You can either spend the energy looking for a job or growing your business. That's kind of where it came to for me. It's like, well, I can put another 6 months into looking for a job that may or may not be out there, or I can dig in and get the next idea and just go for it, right? So you just you might as well go for it, and that's kind of just time passes, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm with you, and so I look at my options, like what's scarier, doing this or doing that, and I'll tell you, I wrote a blog. I have a very public blog too, followgelie.com, and it's about, the title of it is documenting my life pivot, and it picks up at the point where my now ex-husband tells me that he's going to pull out of the company. And this was like after the separation, because he was going to stay in, but then he decided. So it's not like the blog starts when we decide to get a divorce, because that wasn't significant enough. To me, the more significant piece was when he's pulling out of the company, and he's my tech partner. So this is a big deal.
So you don't just have like a divorce; you had a business divorce too, which is it happens a lot.
It does happen a lot, And so I mean, I say this with jest, but it's true. That to me was almost like the more like the jolt. What am I going to do now?
Right.
So he pulls out of the company. I start blogging, just documenting my thought, just an outlet. And gosh, where was I going with this? I had a point with this, but
we were talking about the first big fear that you had to overcome to get started. And then we were talking about how fears continue to kind of plague you as life goes on.
Right. No, man, I had a point with the blog. There was something on there I was going to talk about and totally lost my train of thought.
It'll come back later.
It'll come back. But anyways, but followgelie.com. Yes, just a shameless plug for my blog. Sure.
So now you're started, and you started Networking Phoenix.
Yeah.
And that happens to me all the time, by the way. I get started, and then I get thinking about a story, and then another story interrupts it, and there you go. Yeah. So that makes you an entrepreneur, actually. You have so much going on; it's hard to remember where you were going.
Right.
So now you've got Networking Phoenix started, and so what's the first big bump that you hit, and how'd you get through it?
Well, the first big bump, and there were many at the beginning. What happened with Networking Phoenix is that the notoriety of me as Gelie just shot up like crazy overnight, and I was not prepared for it. So you're like an instant, Scottsdale celebrity, really. Yeah, and that's like almost the weirdest thing to complain about, and I'm not complaining about it, so let me just be clear. But there's definitely a shift that happens when nobody knows you to all of a sudden you're on the map. And what happened when I got put on the map is that everybody wanted a piece of my time. Everybody, their mother, their sister, their cousin, their dog, their cat, it was unbelievable. And I don't want to say people were disrespectful, because like they're like, oh, who's this girl Gelie? She's making things happen. I want to get to know her. But at the rate that it was coming at me, I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know if I should even say no. I didn't know what to do. And I consider myself to be a very mature person, just by nature. I've always been mature, and so I was able to handle it the best that I could. But I don't know that I handled everything the best that I could. I wasn't prepared. It was another like cliff, like I thrown off a cliff, and it was like, okay, here you go, figure it out, and that's the best way to do it, right? But when I was in the public eye, so every mistake is seen by a lot of people. People remember it. If people would say to me, Gelie, as your friend, I'm telling you that I talked to Joe Schmo, and Joe Schmo said that you were very mean to him. And I'm like, who's Joe Schmo? I don't even know who's this person. Well, they came up to you and they tried to talk to you, and you were this or you were that, and I was just like, tell Joe Schmo, F you. Like literally, I'm like, you're telling me as my friend, I'm telling you as your friend. I don't know who Joe Schmo is. Maybe Joe Schmo caught me in a bad mood. It's like people were putting this like
all of a sudden you're supposed to be perfect every single second.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, it was almost like, I felt like it was very disrespectful of them, you know, like in a sense where, my point is, because I didn't talk about this forever, you know, and 9 years later, you know, I deal with things very differently, but I was 27.
Yeah.
I just didn't, you know, I didn't expect people to, it's almost like, in many ways I felt like a kid, and I felt like these adults were putting more pressure. Like, I was like, you're the adult. I mean, at 27, of course I'm an adult, but these were grown adults.
These were like 50,
talking smack about me behind my back because they thought I was somehow rude. I'm like, okay, well, can you put yourself in my situation for a moment? There's 1,000 people coming at me. You know, you maybe somehow got in my face and screamed something. I didn't know how to react, and now you're walking around. Like, So that was the first big bump.
Just the instant celebrity, which, you know, I think that, I mean, we've watched this with people actually who were on the cover of People magazine or whatever.
Yeah.
How many celebrities have we lost because the pressure of being in the public eye is. And this is, you know, maybe a smaller thing because you're in Scottsdale, but when you're walking to the grocery store and you can't even get to the, and this has happened to me back in Vermont, so I can appreciate the feeling to a certain degree, is that you're trying to just get a piece of bread. You're just trying to go in and get an apple, and you're being accosted every second. So it is something to adjust to. And as a young woman, surprise, you've got at that point 20,000 people that are members of your site, which is amazing. And how many members do you have completely overall now?
Now we have almost 40,000.
Yeah, so 40,000 people know you.
Yeah, and they talk to me. And here's the deal. I'm perfectly okay with that, honestly, you know. But I think at this point, people also treat me differently.
Right.
Now there's more of a respect level.
Right.
Initially, there wasn't that respect. And I don't know what's shifted. I don't know if it's how I carry myself, or I don't know if...
Well, you've been in business 9 years.
9 years, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Initially, it's almost like everybody was trying to grab a pound of flesh.
Yeah.
Now it's very different. So now I can handle that differently anyways. But yeah, people talk to me all the time. Like, I can't go into a Starbucks or Paradise Bakery.
And you're a networker. That's what you want.
And I'm okay with that. I'm so okay with that. It's not that I wasn't okay with people...
But I can hear what you're saying, though. The perception that people can sometimes, you know, put you on this pedestal where every second you're supposed to give everybody 120, able to give everybody 120%.
Right.
If you have 100,000 people in front of you, it's hard to give everybody 120%. You got to kind of slice yourself up into small pieces.
Yeah. Like I had a guy yell at me at one of my networking events because I didn't remember his name. He literally yelled at me. He's like, you know, that's so rude of you, and just like went off on me.
Well, because they haven't got a perspective of how many people that you know. You know, I mean, it's hard to remember 1,000 people from one night.
Right.
That you just met for the first time.
Right. So maybe that's my other point, is dealing with wackadoos.
The volume and the wackadoos and just the whole thing. And, you know, I have to say, I've watched you go through that. And you've also, you know, people like you and I are sharing our life on Facebook. We're sharing our life on, you know, in our blogs. And so people feel like they know us. And so when we meet them, we haven't met them before. They get offended that we're not closer because they've been reading our things and posting. Yeah. And so it's natural for them. And so it's just part of the process of learning how to deal with it. And that's a big bump. And so I appreciate that they shared it. Yeah. So what's the thing that kind of freaks you out most now? What's the thing that's the latest challenge or learning opportunity for you? I don't say fear anymore, because what I've learned is, with all of you that I've interviewed, it's no longer a fear. You just kind of, it's something you're dealing with. Right. So what's the deal right now?
So the deal right now is that I still haven't found somebody to replace my ex partner. I want to say ex-husband, but that almost would have sounded like I'm looking for a husband.
Partner slash... Right.
So I haven't found somebody with a software engineer skill set, but I'm looking for more than that, because I need a more of like a CTO or a tech partner or a software engineer. I mean, I have in mind what I'm looking for. It's just a matter of finding that person or that team. And I do have good people around me in that space, but also in a space that can help me put that team together. So the biggest thing I have to do right now is I have to fundraise. So this is my first time ever in my life where I put together a pitch deck, and I'm still working. I mean, I've already worked on it, but then I send it out, I get feedback, and, you know, I work on it some more. And so I put together a pitch deck I'm so proud of.
So how do you spell that? P-I-D-G?
Pitch, P-I-T-C-H.
Okay.
Pitch deck, I'm foreign, right? I told you that I have an accent.
Yeah, pitch deck. Okay, great.
A pitch deck.
Just want to make sure people could hear you.
Yeah, no, thank you. A pitch deck. And what the pitch deck is for potential investors. So where I'm going to be sending this to them or talking to people about it, and I'm looking to fundraise in order to infuse money into the company. And because what we need to do right now is we need to rebuild the platform completely from scratch, because what Aaron built, what he built, it's 9 years old. It's extremely outdated. My website right now is not very mobile friendly. I don't think it's very Google compliant. And I will tell you, it is still very profitable. And last year was one of my best years ever. And I also, this is the blog. Okay, I know where the blog came in. I wrote a blog last year, and I said, I don't know if Networking Phoenix has a future. It said, does Networking Phoenix have a future?
It was a very brave blog. I read it.
Because I literally, honestly didn't know if
I knew
the
it would come back.
could
There it goes, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, but exactly, thank you. But I didn't know that if the company would survive. I literally didn't. And I wrote this blog. It was almost like me publicly saying, guys, I don't know if I can go. Like, I didn't know if I could do it. I felt just on the ground, just overwhelmed, just felt like I exhausted all my resources. And even in that state of mind, I keep hearing, Gelie, no, there's something else you haven't done, and you know this about yourself. I always know that with me, I get to a point where I feel like I'm done, but then someone else has another solution. And I said, you may not know the solution, but someone else does. So find someone that can help you with a solution. So I'm having this dual conversation in my head, you're done. No, you're not. So I write this blog. So my point in sharing this is that when I thought I was completely done, that was one of my best years financially.
Isn't it amazing how that happens? Just when you think that you just had it, you're exhausted, you're not sleeping, you can't eat, you're just twisted, right?
Yeah.
Then something will come along out of nowhere. Someone bumps into you in the grocery store and they say something completely unrelated to what you're talking about, and you're like, oh, that's the solution, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and
so this is a good thing that you're doing. You're fundraising for the first time.
Yes, so I'm fundraising for the first time, and I can't even tell you how excited I am about it. This used to scare the crap out of me. Okay, talking about fear. You're taking somebody else's money and saying, I'm going to double, triple, quadruple, I'm going to do great things with it. But it's all a risk. Okay, it is a big risk.
Well, they're aware they're investing in you.
They're aware, but especially us as women. Like, Michelle, how comfortable are you taking other people's money?
I suck at it.
Yeah.
No. Everything's been self-funded.
Right, and I've been self-funded up to this point, and men don't have as much of an issue as women taking somebody else's money. So here I go again, working through these conversations in my head, and every person I talk to about my company says, Gelie, you are the perfect candidate for funding.
Absolutely.
They're you have a company that's already proven. You have a profitable model.
You have 40,000 members.
You have 40,000 members. You have credibility, and here I am. I'm like, really? I'm like, do you think I've done a good enough job yet? I don't know. I turn into like a little girl that I'm like, I don't know. Like yesterday, I was at Startup Week, and I was talking to this guy he's kind of helped me in the process, and he says, Gelie, well, here's this perfect stranger. Pitch your story to him, and I'm like, oh, girl, I wasn't ready for this, and I say something, and the guy's like, I could tell, he's like, I don't even know what you're saying, I started out with, saying something generic, and so this guy, Greg, says, he's like, no, he looks at the other guy, and he says, this girl has extreme credibility, she's got 40,000 members, she's been doing this for 9, the way he sold me, and I look at the other guy, and he's like, wow, he's like, wow, and I'm like, I can't even tell myself, I can't even tell people what I've done, so.
Because you're too close to it in that moment, I
am, and so it's almost like, people, this is where I'm saying people have these expectations of us, even me, they're like, oh, Gelie can pitch, Gelie can, and I'm like, I don't know if I can. I'll figure it out, I'm not saying I can't, but everything is still a process, so sphere process, yeah, but you're right, it's not the same as it used to be. Now it's just more of a challenge,
right.
And so I've got this pitch deck, and so I'm working on getting funding, so if anybody watching is interested, although I'm looking in strategic partners, and so that's the next step. So I'm going to get it funded, I'm going to rebuild the platform, and then we're going to scale it out, and I have demand for this all over the United States as well as globally.
I'm so freaking excited for you.
Thank you.
This is exciting.
This is exciting.
I mean, this is like the moment that, have you read that book, Pour Your Heart Into It? It's about the beginning of Starbucks.
No, I haven't.
You should pick this book up. And it talks about this part of his process where he got the first $1 million. And he's sitting down at dinner with the first people that gave him the first 10 grand, and just poof, then Starbucks is on every corner now, right? Yeah. But the beginning of Starbucks, I mean, I could be witnessing the next Apple right here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
sure.
I mean, really,
yeah.
You just don't know what's going to happen next, because it's not sinking or swimming, it's flying, right?
It is flying. And, and I'll tell you, like, I am so energized right now, because when you bootstrap for 9 years, I've been bootstrapping for 9 years, I mean, this changes you to the core.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the core. Like,
well, it makes you look at yourself like you're really a corporation, which is what you've been for 9 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just that, like, something you're doing with the CPA. It actually is happening. This is exciting.
It is happening. Yeah.
So what can you tell people about what you've learned, the biggest thing you've learned about being fearless?
The biggest thing I've learned about fearless is that, and I think I kind of alluded to it before, it's not that you could or should be fearless. I think fear is okay. It's about pushing through it anyways. But even if fear does exist, but I almost want to say it this way. Let me kind of give you this phrase. Somebody said this once to me and it stuck, but I'm going to butcher saying it. But she said, where fearlessness exists, anything is possible. And I love that quote, and I don't know, I don't know if the audience caught that, but where fearlessness exists, meaning when there's no fear, anything's possible.
Yeah.
And I've really held that to heart. Like this random woman just said this to me, and she was talking to me about me. We were having a conversation about myself, and the fearlessness is actually a constant in my life as well. Like, Michelle, you're not the first person to ask me about being fearless.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know that I'm fearless. It's just that, I push through it somehow. But that's the biggest lesson, is knowing that, anything is possible if you're not afraid. But I almost want to say it's okay to be afraid, because again, that fear is what's going to make you be rational.
Yeah.
Because, a child and paying the bills are legit things you should be afraid for. But, but there's a way to push through it, and there's a way to do things rationally. Having said that, a lot of times you kind of just have to take the leap, and then things happen once you take the leap. Like those things won't even show themselves once you take the leap. And that's what's, I think, the hardest thing for us, is because the question comes down to, do you believe in yourself? Do you? Like in your deepest, darkest, like that core, that piece of you that you don't show anyone, that you yourself don't even want to look at most of the time, like down that deep, how much can you believe in yourself and stand by yourself? And Michelle, I've asked myself that question many times in life, and it's gotten to the point where there's really, I know that there's nobody else I can depend on the way I depend on myself, because the only person in my life that's never let me down has been me. And that right there is like a very deep and thing to say.
Yeah.
Because even people that are closest to us and love us, they'll let you down, not on purpose. But I can tell you, I, as Gelie, have never let Gelie down. I want to cry.
This is so awesome. I mean, this is really like a very cool thing that you just said. It's a very cool thing that you just said. And you shared it with me and with everybody that's going to watch this video in a week. So it's really fantastic. I really appreciate you taking time out to this interview with us. It's, as much as I have known the people, especially in this series, for, almost a decade, I learned some things about, I'm getting a chill. I learned some things about you that are very important. And so I look forward to seeing you at the Art of Fearlessly Doing Business opening.
Me too. Yes.
It's on May 5th at the Desk Hub in Scottsdale. And thanks so much.
Thank you. I'm excited to see the painting. What is she going to paint?
Woo-hoo. I don't know until I sit down and look at it, right? And listen to the video and start the blog. So I'm really excited to paint it. It's going to be a fun thing to do.
Awesome. Well, thank you.